Hey, howdy, and welcome all to the Big and Bright Podcast. My name is Nick. This here next to me is James.
Howdy.
Guys, your wish has been granted. I have returned. I'm back. The show is good again.
I don't think anyone's wish was that.
I think it was 100% their wish. They say, bring competency back to the Big and Bright Podcast.
No,
Hello, I have returned.
I think my mom disagrees.
Your mom disagrees, but let's say this. So I'm sorry. Was it who was it the one that forgot to push record in the last? For those of you who don't know, this is our second recording of this particular episode because somebody, we'll call him the podcast host not named Nick, forgot to press like some button that records the actual episode. So we recorded a complete 40 or so minute episode that is all awash, and now we have to do it all over again. So when I say bring competency back, it's things like that I'm referring to.
All that's alleged, but has some pretty good evidence to say otherwise.
Sorry. Alleged based on facts?
Yeah, maybe.
Alleged with some really strong core.
I forgot a crucial step in the whole recording process.
So we didn't have an episode because I forgot to push a button. I'm just saying, podcast is better when I'm back. I.e., podcast exists when I'm back because I would have pushed record.
Hey, I got one out there.
You did. You managed to wrestle that one out into the ether. Nonetheless, friends, we have a lot to discuss. A lot's happened since we've kind of took a little hiatus, took a little vacation, and James very graciously decided that he would take over, and he actually recorded the episode when it was just him. But now we get to come back and we get to talk about some good stuff. Namely, it's redistricting season. Tis the season. Yeah, well, it was, and now we've seen.
Now we've got to get mad about it.
Yeah, we've seen the results of redistricting, and I hear something, James, that some people are not super happy about the results of redistricting. Why would that be?
Well,
didn't we talk about it in another episode? We did. We talked about it in an earlier episode.
Basically, the accusation is it helps out Republicans.
Well, yes. That's what redistricting. I mean, redistricting. People do that all the time. That's a political thing, right?
Yeah, that's it.
So we talked earlier that the DOJ in Texas was wanting to examine. So the Democrats in Texas were wanting to examine the redrawn maps specifically, not because it deals with, it's going to help Republicans, because the Republicans are the majority in power, and it's just the benefit of incumbency. Sorry. Yeah. But specifically that they were targeting minorities.
Yeah, that was a claim. It's super weird. Basically what happened was certain counties went down a step. Basically, I think it was Latinos. They went down from 8 to 7 Hispanic majorities, while a number of black residents went from 1 to 0 for a majority county. That was the accusation, and because of that, now it's racist.
Of that, now it's racist.
And they have District 23, I believe, because it's all wonky, and it's like, they kind of changed the shape from El Paso to kind of a weird shape, and so here it's really wonky. It's dumb. But
besides just some vague charge of racism, what are the Democrats claiming? That's my question.
Okay, that people of color cannot vote for their preferred candidate because they don't have the majority in their county.
Are people of color being prevented from voting? No. Yeah. Are they saying that people of color can only vote for the white candidate?
Hold on.
Or for the Republican
Hold
candidate?
on. No.
Then what are you claiming? What is the problem? Well, you're trying to reduce the number of minorities, and that's going to hurt their potential.
No one's stopping you from running.
Yep.
Whoa. Well, I can't get voted in because all these white voters. Oh, I didn't realize that white voters didn't vote for people of color.
True.
Okay, I'm sorry. People of color. I can't get over that.
Why?
We've returned to, instead of saying African American, which still I'm not entirely on board with because we're all American, but people of color. What's the difference between that and colored people?
It's
because it seems just as racist.
Yeah. So
hey, that thing we said we're going to get over. Look at it. Yeah, you're one of them.
So the word of,
Like, are you serious?
I think this is important because this is a really important semantic argument because, as I've said before, semantics is everything.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And to say, so the, and I'm going to go ahead and say this for historical purposes, right? This is the non-accepted vernacular is colored people, right? And the new accepted vernacular is people of color. So what does that mean? What does that do, right? So basically, I think an important thing to understand is when you say people of color, right? You're assigning an importance. You're assigning an importance to the group dynamic. Right?
Okay.
That's like saying we are the people of America, right? We are the people of the world, whatever it is, right? To say that you are X person, right, is to ascribe some sort of attribute to you.
Okay.
But being black is no longer an attribute, right? Being Latino is no longer an attribute. It is now being a part of a demographic. You are of this demographic, which allows people to say that people of color vote a certain way because they are people in that group, and the group is what's being emphasized there.
Oh my
Whereas
gosh.
if you just say black people or white people, right, that's just an attribute. This is just a person who has his own thoughts and feelings and just happens to be white or just happens to be black. But when you say that they're a person of color, right, you're putting them in a monolith. There's a key difference there. And I think it's really important, man. Words matter.
Yeah, your logic of how you get to the of color just sounds like a bunch of liberals sniffing their own farts.
That's who we're dealing with.
It's
though.
a
That's
technicality,
who invented this word.
and so
No.
it's not racist.
That matters.
Okay.
That matters,
All
right?
right.
Because if you are of color, then you belong to.
Why do we even care, Nick? Why do we even care?
We care because this is a completely fallacious argument that people of color are going to vote.
I'm talking about care about the electoral maps. Why do we even care?
Well, why do we care? I don't.
Well,
Why do you care?
Because the DOJ seems to care. Because they're playing Advent. What did I say? Advent litigation. So on the 5th day of Christmas, we sue you for thee. On the 6th day of Christmas, we sue you for me.
That's not Advent. That's the 12 days of Christmas.
Well, they're playing some
Advent litigation, right? You know, it's like okay, we're going to open up the
way,
Advent calendar.
Either way, we've discussed on previous episodes that the electoral maps were in state court and some in federal court. Well, now the DOJ decided it had to step in. Had to step in and get the overwhelming, unlimited resources of the federal government to sue one single state that just so happens to not be so different than other states that happen to be Democratic. Mm-hmm. Let's not worry about that. But basically, it beefed up Republican Anglo seats and diminished minority areas.
Hold on, pause. Republican Anglo seats?
Yeah, they're trying to get away from saying deliberately white people.
But here's the thing: why does that matter? Right? Is the case against Republicans or is the case against white people?
Well,
right?
They're one and the same. But they're Republican and they happen to be white.
Well, that's probably true. I mean, it's clear that the Democrats have. I mean, certainly, like most of the congressional electors have been Democrats, or that are of color, that are minorities, or Democrats, right?
Yeah, usually, yeah.
And I mean, that's always been the case, right?
Well, not entirely. I mean, it hasn't always been Democrat. I can tell you that.
Well, I mean, Frederick Douglass was a Democrat, right?
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah,
Hold on. Frederick
Douglass.
He was an abolitionist, which likely makes him Republican.
I think it might be. I think it might be that I was just setting you up there to say Frederick Douglass was absolutely a Republican. Political party? Republican.
Oh, look at that. Yep. Yeah, Republican.
Yep. Sure enough. But probably the very first black person appointed to the Senate was probably a Democrat, right?
I know this one.
Yeah.
No, it was not. I actually know this one. This one is Hiram Rhodes Rebels. I actually looked this up because I was curious of how this was going on, and I was like, I'm just not going to tell Nick about this one because I just want to see if he thinks that he has a little ace in the hole, which maybe. Anyways, he was Republican and he's black, and it was 1870. it wasn't that far after. You were a piece of property, depending on the state or the Mason-Dixon line you were on. If you went too far, well, I don't care if you were free up there, you ain't free down here.
Yeah.
And so that's amazing. I mean, but they're gonna say
I legit did not know that.
Well, yeah.
I tried to get you on the Frederick Douglass thing, but that was a genuine question. I did not know that.
Yeah, no.
Way to do your research, James.
Well, anyways, but it was really weird because Democrats at that time were trying to actually keep slavery, and they want to say that the party switched magically in the 1960s, but that didn't happen. Yeah. I mean, this didn't happen. They'll have all these little fancy, like, well, these people went to this party and these people resigned. Yeah, no, it didn't happen. The political parties' lines, what they had is like, this is our platform, didn't change. They're not going to sit down, especially in the 60s, and say, here's my platform, thank you for yours, let's flip. No, the 60s weren't exactly get along time.
Yeah.
But
Strom Thurmond switched parties. He said so.
Get it?
Yeah,
whatever.
That's the one person that flipped parties. That's the big switch, right? Here's the thing. What specifically is the case that the DOJ is making?
The last 2020 census, it showed that we had 2 million people that's been added to our population. Of that, 95% of it were people of color. Mm-hmm. Which is the biggest battle cry for the suits. You're expanding and changing the maps and diminishing the people who actually added to it, because if you don't remember, we got to add 2 more seats to our congressional makeup for national. And so, yeah, that's the basic thing. Hernandez has said that lawmakers discriminated against people of color, denying Latino and Black voters equal opportunities to participate in the voting process and elect their preferred candidates. Mm-hmm. The DOJ...
Hernandez is the Houstonian rep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and Hernandez.
Yeah, and DOJ has said that their specific aim is redrawing a certain district, which I said, but the 23rd district, and it switches out voters and splitting precincts so that the final product would eliminate Latino electoral opportunity.
That's the same thing. They're saying the exact same thing.
Yeah, but now they have the unlimited government
They have the unlimited government power, right?
Oh,
so
yeah, that's no big deal.
Basically, the DOJ just basically said, okay, they went to the
we know you already
Democratic reps, and they said, hey, let me have that platform, and we're just going to put our...
Yeah, we know you already have some cases set up, and it's in court right now. We're just going to put our large foot and say, hey, I don't know why you're worried about us stepping in. We're just protecting. Well, it seems protecting is making sure you find an exact outcome.
And this wording from Representative Hernandez just drives me nuts, right? Texans deserve a map that provides them a fair chance to elect their candidate of choice. And all of this is based on the fact that there's a lower percentage of Latinos in specific districts. This is all predicated on one premise, that all Latinos vote as a bloc, which is not true.
No.
It's not true, and by the way, frankly, very racist. But if that one fact isn't true, which it's not, the whole argument crumbles, right?
Yeah.
The entire argument is standing upon a very racist house of cards.
Right, and you've seen that the conservatives have started getting more and more Hispanic vote for whatever reason, and actually, even in 2020, GOP earned at a percentage higher of gaining the black vote than did the Democrats of actually attaining their vote. They were still below the Democrats when it came to the actual numbers, but how much they raised their percentage over a period of time is still astronomical, and that's what they're actually worried about.
Yeah.
They're really worried about conservatives actually being able to reach people, because they're not just going to see them as a monolithic thing of like, you're black, therefore you're this. No, you're just a person that happens to be black, so who cares?
The other thing that's important about this, and this goes back to my people of color versus other things. This is another thing that's important, is when you say things like this, when you say that this change in demographic prevents Latinos from electing their candidates, when you say that, when you put that out there into the ether and people read articles like this, you are convincing people that Latinos vote a certain way.
Yeah.
They're literally trying to. This is like The Secret. They're literally trying to speak their reality into existence.
Yeah.
And it's not. I really don't think this is going to work.
Yeah, this was done after. If you don't know, because we haven't discussed it until now, U.S. Supreme Court dissolved a rule called the Pre-Clearance Rule, which gave federal oversight, which was intended to protect people of color. Again, I still don't like that term. Garland, whenever he made this proclamation, because he's Attorney General from the DOJ, he said if this rule's in place, then he wouldn't have had to be here and start suing Texas. However, an AP article and the DOJ's own motion states otherwise.
Yeah.
Because the AP article says Texas has had to defend their maps since 1965. Every time a redistricting happened, which is typically every 10 years because that's when the census happens. There's in the DOJ's motion or petition, which is actually fairly short. It's a pretty easy read, but I read it for you, so I'll go through it a little bit later, so you don't have to. There's a one point they make in there. Since 1970, courts have found that Texas has violated constitutional voter or the Voting Rights Act with their maps. Doesn't spell out how, just says that it happened.
Yeah.
Fun fact, Nick.
What's that?
Democrats have typically held Texas in some form or fashion until 1990.
Yeah.
So that's at least 20 years of these racist Republicans having these maps going on.
Yeah.
That they weren't actually in play.
So do you think that this is Garland basically trying to cover himself, right, by saying that this isn't? He can say, "Well, this isn't political because I said since 1970, so this is strictly a legal thing."
Right? Yeah, it's purely posturing because you have a state of Maryland, a state of Illinois, which actually has done similar things when it comes to rejiggering the actual maps to favor Democrats in a heavy-handed way, not and they're not looking at that. Why? Even the Maryland governor is saying, "Hey, how about you look at our maps because our legislator just voted pretty democratically."
Yeah,
and not the Democratic like the small D, like actually large D, the Democratic Party in that fashion.
I'm telling you, if Garland gets pushback on this for the DOJ, which he won't, but if he did, I guarantee you that's the point he makes. He said, "I said since 1970s the Democrats were running the Texas in 1970s, so clearly this is bipartisan." What he won't say is why he's ignoring these other people. And let me be clear, gerrymandering is
fairly allowed. Actually,
it's allowed, and it's
in a way
it probably should be.
It's a broad brush. There's so much minutia to that. In broad brush, it is allowed in various forms.
It probably shouldn't be in certain ways, but it's hard to regulate that. It's hard to legislate.
You can't make a rule for everybody.
Yeah, well, and I don't know. Maybe maintaining some permanence of voting districts would be good, but then you've got people mobilizing and moving to different areas, and all of this is over like basically one district, right? It's District 23.
That's the biggest thorn in their side,
which is way out
in West Texas. Yeah, middle of nowhere. Exactly. I mean, I love you guys, but you're still middle of nowhere.
Yeah, you're in the middle of nowhere. Like, how many voters are in District 23?
63.
Yeah, there's
it all should be D.
It's like there's as many people as watch this podcast are in District 23.
Yeah,
which is a considerable amount. We're moving. We're growing very quickly.
Sure.
All right. So James, what are your thoughts on this whole thing?
Okay, I can go through the notes from the DOJ suit. Again, it was only 45 pages. Wasn't that long, but fine. We provided with you with a CNN PDF because they already did the work for us, so you can go from there.
This is James' TLDR of a 45-page document.
What?
TLDR.
What's TLDR?
Too long, didn't read.
Oh, no, I read.
You see that? You have an article at the bottom. It has the TLDR, which is just a summary.
Yeah, no, I actually read it. So, as stated earlier, allegations started off by saying because Texas has done this in the past, therefore it's true now, which I disagree with because just past actions don't actually dictate future actions. I did that with the previous episode with George Floyd. Just because he got murdered, just because of his past, does not mean she got murdered. It's kind of the point you're making here.
Yeah.
Anyways, they're mad that the houses went too fast with the mapping claim, and their claim is lack of transparency. Another one is...
Didn't they go through like 5 sessions, though?
Yeah.
They went through that's a lot.
Five hearings in 3 weeks with government. Like government,
Yeah.
not like, hey, we have a small business, we're going to have some meetings. Like, no, government had 5 different hearings. Yeah. See, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Also, the biggest point they even have to mention, because it's not great for their case, they try to like slide it off. So you add that in the middle so that people will skip over it.
Yeah.
Software used for the map drawing did not include home addresses of the actual incumbents. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's...
I mean, they did...
Well, they don't have their address. Whoa, hold on.
Oh,
right?
so they don't know where they live?
Yeah.
So, well, they drew it for them. But you just said they don't know where they live.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they drew it for them. You just said they don't... Okay, we're just repeating. Never mind. Just go sit down. Go sit down.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It admits that they have racial data, which is available, of where people live according to racial lines. Again, still pretty racist, but we have that available. Political data is not, though, which how people have voted, which I think would be more easily attainable.
Yeah. See, I don't think we should have either. Why do we even have racial data?
Yeah, exactly. And they because of that they say this is how it was drawn racially. It's like, well, we shouldn't have the data. I'm with you. Like,
we have racial data because of this premise, this false premise that people of a certain race are going to vote a certain way, which is racist and not true.
Right. This is how you use your plugs to send a certain mail somewhere because of certain color lines. It's like, yeah, that's again. You're mad that it exists, but this is exactly what you use. But anyways. In Claim 94 of the whole thing, 2021, it was enacted that District 38 block voting by Anglo voters will enable them to usually defeat Latino voters, preferred candidates. Again, with a preferred candidates line. So your color determines your vote, as they say basically with this one. How is that not racist? How is that not racism? But okay,
it's not.
Yeah,
it's not racist.
And because they say in point 108 here, John Lujan, who I was making fun of, his name is Lujan. They mentioned that he got voted in, but apparently that was not their candidate of choice. But he won.
It was your candidate.
But it was Latino. That wasn't blue.
You choiced him. Yeah. It was your candidate.
But he wasn't blue, Nick. So it's the wrong choice. Yeah.
He was one of them Ted Cruz.
And they also, in one of her points, 159. Some districts are enormous, and that impedes the ability of minorities to participate in the process.
Because they can't vote in enormous districts?
Stop asking questions. This is their point, and you have to believe their truth.
I'm going to go with citation needed on that one.
Yeah.
All right, what else is in the bill?
All right, then they get super woke.
What else is in the lawsuit? I guess.
They get super woke, like most of the way down. You're like, oh, here we go. This is the usual tropes.
Yep.
All right. Point 155. Here's where they start talking about equity. Latinos and blacks in Texas are far more likely than Anglos to be unemployed and to lack a high school diploma.
What does that have to do with voting?
Yep.
Oh, I know why they said that. Because unemployed, lacking high school diploma means they're more likely to vote for Democrats, so they should be included in the vote count.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah, no, they don't explain how not having those things precedes you from vote or prevents you from voting.
Yeah. Or why that's even in this litigation.
All right, you made your point. Good job. Yeah. All right, here's 157. Here's where it gets real fun. Minorities lack health insurance rates compared to Anglos.
What? That has nothing to do with voting. That has nothing to do with redistricting.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Well, they put it in here, so it does.
But how?
Nick, you're going to have to stop asking questions. It's really irritating me.
Yeah, I can't believe you.
You asked me to report on this, and so I'm reporting on this, but you asking questions that are relevant is pissing me off, stop.
I'm sure it's irritating.
Anyways, point 160. Calm down.
Calm down.
Some political campaigns in Texas have been characterized by racial appeal.
Again, I'm going to go with citation needed. What do they say? Did they make a claim? Did they say who it was? Maybe it was Teddy Ted?
Nick, this is the reason I made sure you were not on the last episode. You ask stupid questions that have relevant points that there's not a citation for, and it's irritating.
Yeah.
Because you don't get to ask those questions. You just have to accept the truth.
Accept and believe.
What's wrong with
That's
you?
right.
The DOJ said you questioning the experts?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I am.
Arrest him, not me. I didn't question the experts.
Where are the armed men who come to take the protesters away?
Straight
to jail. You
You
question experts?
You question
Right to jail.
experts? Straight to jail.
Believe it or not.
You dislike an expert in a text message.
Right to jail. All right. So this seems like another we're gonna get on a plane to avoid quorum thing.
You would think.
Yeah.
And they as much as they gripe about it, they didn't do that. It's like, really? You did it for SB 8, which still got passed anyways. You can say, we championed and made sure that certain things said certain words. Yeah, but the end result is you're still suing it in court, so no matter what they passed, you're still suing in court. And look at this. Here we are. Yep, we're still suing in court because the Supreme Court allowed it to continue the suit, but it also allowed our law to stay in place. Oh, but you ran away for that. You win. Why don't you run away?
All right. Well, because they've used that. That's a.
We've used that ace already.
That's something in their hand. They've already played it. They can't play it again. They got to waste at least, I don't know, like at least 3 years or something to do that again.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
But they also want to talk about how people of color, again, very racist, how we need to do all this and we get people to vote for their preferred candidates, and likely what they mean by preferred candidates, people who look like them. Not the case. Not for Texas. Mm-hmm. The biggest offices, lieutenant governor, what was it, agricultural, all prominent white people. Beto still has the name Beto, but dude's white.
Yep.
Okay?
Robert Francis
Yeah.
O'Rourke.
Matthew Dowd's the only one who's actually had the stones to drop out and say, hey, I want to do it for a more diverse field.
Yeah.
What in political terms means no one was funding him, so he dropped out so he can look woke.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
They're all white, but good news, one of them
is less white.
Is Michelle Beck,
Yeah.
who is of the blue hair tribe.
Well, not anymore.
Not
she
anymore.
She dyed it back because she's going for a more responsible office.
She wants to be an adult.
Yeah. Don't forget, she originally said she was going to go for senator in Texas, and then all of a sudden realized that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, that's not happening.
So we're going to go to lieutenant governor, where Mike Collier, which is probably the most prominent one for the Democratic Party that actually will get that nomination. But I don't know why she thought she had a chance. Maybe even in her own representative district, she saw the writing on the wall, said, screw it, I'll go for this, and if I lose the other one, it doesn't matter because I wasn't running for it anymore. Yeah, it's moved because you were going to lose it and why you dropped out.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm going to lose it anyway, so I'll just pretend like I cared.
It's like Kamala Harris, and Kamala Harris is the Democratic Party candidate despite the fact that she lost in the primary.
Yeah. But anyways, that's the basic thing what's going on in Texas. I'm sure we'll have some other stuff that we'll go through. But right now, that's the basics of what actually is the biggest important news for Texas.
And what's important to note, friends, is that you should be voting. You should be following this kind of stuff because it is important. The layout of your Texas state representatives is important, not just for what you see in Texas, but what you see on the national stage in the future. And friends, the national stage might be where all of the glitz and glam is.
Yeah.
But right here at home is where it matters. Right here in the great state of Texas. Right here where the stars at night
are big and bright.
We'll see you next week.